I really want to understand how you decided and said, okay, I'm doing software engineering. I want to go do sales.
I was looking for software engineering jobs. This was after first year university. I was looking for summer jobs. Couldn't find anything. I mean, my goal was, again, my families knew. My dad was finding a challenge finding a normal job, so I had to support the family. So as simple as that. So not having a job was not an option. I wasn't able to find a software engineering job. I was like, okay, I need to find whatever job I get. And the only job I could get was a sales job. And I was like, okay, let's see what I can do. I have no idea what this means, but let's figure it out.
Welcome back to Newcomers podcast, people, where I explore what it means to be an immigrant with immigrants like myself. Today, I'm talking to Kundan Joshi. Now, he runs TheAppLabb. You'll probably see him all over the place across the media doing amazing things. But, and he's been here for a while. He's been here for 30 plus years. And whenever I talk to people like him, I'm always very curious. And I think I'll even start with that question. Is when you moved here as a 19, 20, 18-year-old young man, like, what was going through your mind at that point in time? I mean, because I moved here as in my 30s. So I feel like there's a very huge difference in how we see the world. So what was going through your mind at that point in time? And if you look back at that young man and you look back at yourself now, did everything happen as you thought it would happen?
That's a great question. I'll start from I guess immigration story. I mean, luckily or whatever. I mean, it was not my decision, so it makes it a bit easier, I guess. Lesser pressure on did I make the right decision or not. My parents made the decision. They moved here. I was doing my first year engineering in India at that time when they moved here. They immigrated, and I followed them along. I finished. I just completed my exams. I was like, let me finish my exams and then I'll join you guys. Completed my exams, came here, started. I had to repeat my first year of engineering. I got into Western University for software engineering, so got in there. And I mean, again, 18, 19-year-old, but more importantly, I just started university. And university, college life, I mean, it's fantastic here. Again, similarly, it's fantastic in India. And I was in it, right? I mean, I had my friend circles. I was kind of exploring the world in a particular lens, and the lens changed to a certain degree. So obviously, it was a bit off-putting. Like, okay, what's going on? I mean, why? I mean, I have my friends here. I mean, this is how I plan my. Because it wasn't really planned out, to be very honest. At least not for me. And I was like, okay, this is a change. Let's see where it goes. I mean, luckily, what worked for me is I've always had a positive attitude. So I moved here, and the moving was difficult. Before I left India, leaving India was difficult because I was very attached to the country, to my people, all of that stuff, and my friends and whatnot. But once I boarded that plane and I got here, landed, two things. One, I was just smitten by the beauty of this country and the kindness of the people and all of that. That's part one. And part two is I just came with a positive approach. I'm like, okay, now we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point? Let that go. Whatever it was, I'm still connected. It's not like, I mean, there are flights now. I mean, there's there's phone that not smartphones, but cell phones had arrived, mobile phones had arrived by them, so I can stay in touch. All of that stuff. This was 2000, by the way. So dating myself here. We're like, okay, let's get on here. Let's start with this new journey. So that played for me, that positive approach. And from there, I was like, okay, now what do I need to do? Now that I'm in this country, what does that mean? What do I need to do? How do I accomplish my goals? What would be the path for me? So I just started looking at it from that perspective, and things just started falling in place. I mean, obviously, got into university, started software engineering, made an amazing group of friends here. Wanted to obviously integrate not just with folks from my background and folks with same ethnic origin, but folks all across, like all different, I guess, origin stories and and Canadian nationals and so on and so forth. And then from my own path, I mean, it just unfolded where I just started taking opportunities from a sale. Like I was doing software engineering, but took a sales job. I was doing, I was doing sales. I was coming back to school, and I accidentally ran into entrepreneurship. Like, okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out, and kept on taking on opportunities, exploring, learning, and that took me to where I am now.
I'm going to come back to that sales role because I read an interview of yours and I was like, that was an interesting switch, because you're in software engineering, you go do sales. Like that is because they're like two ends. Like, it's like, oh, one is coding, one is selling. I want to understand how you made that call. But, I really like that thing you said about just being positive. That's one. Two, just saying to yourself that, I'm just going to talk to everyone and integrate and build friends across the divide. Because I find that sometimes when I talk to some newcomers, there's this tendency for us to, because it's crazy trying to settle to a new country. So we just go into our shell and find comfort, which is okay. But I was saying to someone a couple of days ago that I'm beginning to think that one of the things you can do for yourself when you just move to Canada is when you see someone, just say hi. Like, just say hi to every stranger. Like, just hi, how you doing? Some people won't say anything to you. Some people will just respond back to you. But I find that if you do that for a lot of days, you start to feel much happier, much settled in the country. Things don't feel as if they're exactly that strange and hard anymore, But if you just stay within yourself, you're like, everyone doesn't like me. Yeah. I'm struggling, and it's hard though. But I tell people that they should try that.
Yeah, I love that. That's and luckily in Canada, it's a strategy that works. People are nice, so they will. Exactly. Majority of the people will respond back. They'll start striking conversations, all of that. So yeah, I love that. What you said.
Yeah. But the other thing I want to just also kind of explore with you is, do you think, if you reflect on that journey now and the person you've become along the way and how everything has shaped up, do you think there are skills that you brought from back home that you didn't know and they were kind of showing up and helping you just kind of become the person you became? Because, when we are young, we don't see these things sometimes. When you reflect on them, you're like, I had done something back home that I'd done this and it helped me become this, or was it just purely just like, you know what? Mind open, I'm just going to explore this country and make the best out of it.
I think it's both, right? I mean, yes, definitely. I mean, obviously, things I got from my country of origin, family values that I was brought up with, right? Yeah. Experiences that I had, limited whatever experiences in my first 18, 19 years of my life. And there were also things that I had to unlearn, right? In many ways, that in order to adapt and ensure that I do integrate. But I mean, again, I'm an interesting sort of example because I do both. I am extremely integrated in the Indo-Canadian community, and I'm very well integrated into the Canadian community as a whole. I've done many initiatives that, apart from obviously running my businesses, but done initiatives which can uplift Indo-Canadians, and I've done initiatives which can uplift Canadians. So I truly believe that it's possible to do best of both worlds. We do see coming again, right? Moving to another country, immigration is in Canada, moving from one house to another is considered the most stressful thing you would ever do, right?
Yeah.
Now, immigrants move countries, not just house from one postal code to another. It's two different countries, two different cultures, two different ways of living, values, etc., right? What that means is that's a stressful act, right? So post stress, you seek comfort. So it's natural that we seek comfort and we go back into, okay, where are the people that look like me, act like me, behave like me, have similar interests, and you'll go there, right? So that's natural. However, by taking such a big risk as we have, in many ways, as immigrants, we are natural risk takers. So being in a comfort zone is great. I mean, we need to we have comfortable as well, but we've already stretched our way of being out of our comfort zone, right? And to be successful in life, stepping out of our comfort zone is extremely important. Facing our fears is extremely important. Embracing failure is extremely important. So those aspects are extremely important, and which is why, as immigrants, regardless of our backgrounds, where we come from, we are naturally able and enabled to truly succeed, because
Yeah.
we can have, we by nature of what we've gone through and so on, we naturally have more grit. We are willing to work harder. We are working to have a more positive and adaptable mindset.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I mean, again, all of those things worked, right? I mean, grit is probably my number one trait, and that comes from, obviously, I mean, the childhood and the place I
Yeah.
live in. I mean, India obviously is highly competitive, right?
Yeah.
So I used to be that student who studied hard to see how I can be first in my class, first in whatever, and whatever I accomplished sometimes, did not accomplish sometimes. But that process of competition
Yeah.
innately put a lot of drive in me,
Yeah.
innately put a lot of grit in me, innately allowed, because I pushed hard, really high
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
In many ways, I failed a lot more even as a child, and that sort of brought a lot of that mindset where I was open to failure, I was open to learning, I was open to growth, and had more positive approach and attitude overall. So yes, those aspects did help me and shape me. But I would say that most immigrants, in a way, have those traits, and it's just
Yeah.
about like not coming here and okay, now let me just, that's too much. Let me just get into comfort zone versus hey,
Yeah.
okay, this is good. Now I found my spot, but guess what? I'm ready, right? I'm
Yeah.
ready to take it on. I'm ready to take it up a notch, right?
Yeah.
And in many ways for Canada, right? I mean, as we sort of we reinvent ourselves as a
Mm-hmm.
nation, right? With obviously with our one of our strengths being the diversity that we bring
Yes.
in
Yes.
terms of people and mindsets based on where people come from, how as a country we are set up for inclusion, we are set up for being open to different perspectives, different
Yeah.
values, that allows us to be a lot more integrated in our approach. And as a result, that hard work, that drive, that hustle that immigrants bring in can truly shape where our country is going. So not just from an individual journey but a collective journey,
Yes.
this immigrant mindset, this immigrant hustle, this immigrant sort of work ethic
Yeah.
is going to be extremely important as we collectively shape the future of our country as well.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. Like, I had this conversation with someone where he said, you would be hard pressed not to find someone from every single country in the world. You would find them in Canada. Like, you would just say, you could,
Totally.
like, I want to find someone from Fiji. You would find that person in Canada, and
Yeah.
that in
Yeah.
itself is a
Yeah.
strength. We just need to
So
start
true.
finding a way to harness all of that.
So
you
true.
know, and that thing you said about, I have never thought about it that way, but that's so true. That thing about how by the time you've moved, part of the reason why you seek comfort is all that stress of moving. It just breaks you down. Because I mean, I remember for us, we moved from Lagos to Ottawa, lived in Ottawa for 6 months. After 6 months, we were like, we're not enjoying this place. So we now moved from Ottawa to Calgary. So literally, it took me 2 years plus to settle in, because literally for 2 Christmases, I was planning to basically uproot my whole life. Like, so the Christmas of 2020, I moved January of 2021. The Christmas of 2021, I moved the February of 2022. So basically,
Wow.
this was like a whole move, sell the things you can sell, ship everything across.
Yeah.
I think kind of felt like it was in 2023 when I started feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm beginning to just kind of put roots down. I'm not thinking of, I'm going to travel somewhere this Christmas, so I need to sell the TV or sell the couch, So I understand that thing you say about all that stress. You just start finding, sorry, I just need to talk to someone who gets me. I don't want to start trying to adjust
Totally.
myself and
Totally.
code switch.
Totally.
But I want to get to that point you made about sales. Like, how did you decide? Like, wait, I really want to understand how you decided and said, okay, I'm doing software engineering, I want to go do sales.
Yeah.
And then
Again,
went back to start TheAppLabb. Honestly, because like, how did you make that? Because it feels like you went this way, then you went back that way. You're like, how did you decide that?
yeah, I mean, again, that's same two attributes how I landed up in Canada, right? having an open mind, and focusing on what matters, right? So again, it wasn't a choice. I was looking for software engineering jobs. This was after first year university. I was looking for summer jobs, looked for software engineering jobs. Couldn't find anything. I mean, just 1 year experience, right?
Yeah.
My Western did not have a co-op program at that time. But my goal was, again, my families knew. They were, again, my dad was finding a challenge finding a normal job, so I had to support the family. So
Yeah.
as simple as that. So not having a job was not an option. I wasn't able to find a software engineering job. I was like, okay, I need to find whatever job I get. And the only job I could get was a sales job. And I was like, okay, let's see what I can do. I have no idea what this means, but let's figure it out. And I again went with an open mind, with a positive
Yeah.
attitude, and a narrative. Sometimes you have to, I don't like to say the word trick your brain, but have a right narrative to your brain in terms of
Yeah.
what matters. And so my narrative to my brain was, hey, I'm new to the country. Would I rather be in front of people having conversations and talking to them, or would I rather be behind a desk, right? For a job or for an experience that I want. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather be in front of people. I'd rather fine tune my communication skills. I'd rather understand the Canadian people here, their
Yeah.
cultures. Because I mean, in university is different. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I started making a lot of friends in university, but they are all young, they're all open,
Yeah.
all of that
Exactly.
stuff. Whereas I want to go to people's houses literally, because I was doing door to door sales initially, and kind of peek in and
Gosh.
see what they're doing. Tough sales, door to door, and then I had one where I was selling whatever energy, and then I was selling credit cards at the intersection of Yonge and Dundas.
What the
Uh,
hell?
and then I landed up actually the most comfortable sales job that I found, considering those, which
Yeah.
was selling high speed internet at a mall kiosk. So it was a small kiosk
Yeah.
inside a mall, Dufferin Mall, and I was like, I want that job. That's easy. I don't have to be out in the sun. I don't have to be like, I mean, I love dogs, but I don't want people to
Yeah.
throw
Oh,
their
yeah.
dogs on me. Luckily, I befriended them, and that got the owner really upset. But I was like, this is comfortable. So anyway, so I seeked my balance of comfort with the right, and I did really well in the high speed internet sales job, and I finished finished the role as I was going back to school, and the owner said, I mean, you can't go. I mean, the amount of money you've made, you won't make it in a year after you graduate. Why would you go to school? And I'm like, well, I mean, I have to go back and finish my engineering, but maybe I can do something there. I'm like, no, I don't really have anything there. I'm like, maybe I can start a new branch there. And he's like, okay, let me think about it. And he offered me. So that was accidentally, that ended up being my first entrepreneurial gig, where I set up mall kiosks. I became a franchisee for Rogers, and started selling high speed internet in London, Ontario, at Weston on the side while I was pursuing school. So accidentally, because I was open to it, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's see what I can do. Let me push myself. I mean, completely uncomfortable zone, right? I mean, 19-year-old, and like just accidentally, just in a conversation, oh, here's a
Yeah.
business opportunity. I'm like, okay, let's see, why not? And that again, right? That with that opportunity, I fell in love with entrepreneurship, the ability for me to decide the path, my own destiny, the impact that I want to make, where I want to focus. So yeah, so that's how the journey landed.
Like there are a ton of lessons in there. I mean, I'm laughing because I'm laughing at the bravery and that thing you say about that narrative in the head, like because it can change your life. Just you just telling your brain something else, like because you're right. Is do you want to sit at a desk or do you want to be talking to people?
Yeah, yeah,
You're new
yeah,
to the country. One of them, the it's what well I forget what that thing is called. They call it something in tech where it has outsized returns or like it's probabilistic, it's not deterministic or something because
yeah,
if you're on the desk is what probabilistic is like you never know what can happen. The outcomes are basically just they could go anywhere. Like you could meet
yeah.
someone and I mean just to go what you're saying, you sold well and he's like, oh go start your own thing and then you go start your own franchise. Like that's a very like if they told you that at the beginning, like if you sold this thing, you would have the opportunity to start a franchise in school, you'll be like, no, that's not possible because you can't see it.
Exactly. And I mean, again, right? We never can. Even today, I can't see it, right? Which is why
Yeah,
I'm always open to it. I mean, you said bravery, but it was interesting. I mean, yeah, bravery came as a form of the positive attitude, but I had to
yeah,
learn bravery because it was more naivety than I would say bravery at that particular point. But positivity and open mindedness allowed me to do that. And then moving forward, to be
yeah,
truly brave, I had to sort of understand what my fears are and how do I get over those fears. That was a course of journey through my experiences where true bravery came about. And even now, sometimes it's just naivety. I'm like, okay, whatever, what the hell, let's do it. I don't know what it takes, so let's do it. But yeah, at least know that what fears I need to resolve
face. Yeah.
before anything else.
It's interesting because they say fear. I mean, I think they say courage is action despite fear. Like, is you acting despite the fear. Like, that's what
It's a
courage
good point.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as you do that, you you start to build the muscle to, because if you don't do the first one, you're never able, because I think people always think that. So let's use an immigrant for example. People always think that I want to go on stage and talk about my immigrant journey, but you're never going to be able to build the muscle to do that if you don't start talking about it with someone. If that makes sense. Like, so you have to kind of overcome the first small fear before you overcome the big fear. We
So
always
true.
tend to think about the big fear first and say we need to overcome that, but we forget it's a muscle you build. So which is why when you say this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Like, it's maybe naivety is actually good as an immigrant. It's just, and I'm like, going back to what you said earlier on about you already packed your life into suitcases and came here. So what is there to lose, really?
Exactly,
Like, what
exactly,
is there to lose?
exactly. Yeah, nothing. Totally.
You know, you've talked a lot about persistence, and failures and not giving up and stuff. And I'm just, is there one of these your failures that stung you like over time? Like, is there any one of them that is like you remember you're like, oh, I don't like that one.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if you look at it, right? I mean, over time and over multiple small failures and a compound of some bigger ones as well. I mean, just the ones that I've mentioned to you so far, right? I
Yeah,
mean, not getting a software job, right,
mm,
in my field, I could have looked at as a failure,
yeah,
and I would have just stuck there and not even applied for the sales job, right? Same thing in terms of, hey, I mean, when I started the company, right? I mean, I didn't get a particular promotion I wanted to, and I'm like, what the hell? Screw it. Let me just start on something on my own, right? So I could have looked at as a failure, right?
mm,
But and I did at that particular point, but I decided to move on in essence. Over time and over the journey, the realization for me has been, and it has been a crescendo, right? I mean, starting from shit, this failure stings. I mean, why did I do this, right?
yeah.
It's level two. It feels bad right now, but I'm pretty sure there's a good reason why this thing happened. And I'm pretty sure in hindsight, this will be great thing that happened. To level three, where I'm so freaking glad that this failure happened.
Oh
This is the
gosh.
opportunity that I need to move forward. I'm plateauing right now, and this is the moment to
Oh
seize.
wow.
So, so the moment today, whether it's today's failure or yesterday's failure, right? The perspective and the mindset that is very important for me is looking at that failure as an opportunity, because I believe, and again, at least the way my mind works, and it's I think common to most humans, at the end of the day, there's vast amount of knowledge in this
Yes.
world. Even, I mean, again, chat gpt and whatever AI gives everything at our fingertips, but the truth
Yeah.
is, if you don't ask the right questions, if you don't have
Yeah.
curiosity, if you
Yeah.
have certain blind spots, you'll still
Yeah.
take it in your own direction. So
Yes.
even access to infinite knowledge doesn't really mean your blind spots are out of the way.
Yes.
So and why? Because there are three things, right? There's, these are the things I know, and I these are the things that I know, right? So hey, I know AI, I know how to code in Java, whatever, right? These are things I know I don't know, right? Yeah, I don't know how to play a guitar. I'd love to, but I don't know how to play a guitar. I don't know how to do whatever, right? I know this country is beautiful, but I've never been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's blind spots where I don't
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
I like how many times in a day we're like, oh, really interesting. I never knew that existed. I never knew that city existed. I never knew this particular genre of music existed. I never,
Yeah.
whatever, right? I mean, I never knew. Oh, shoot, I never knew this is exactly how AI works. All right, so those parts I don't know, they're at the end of the blind spots. And if
Yeah.
those blind spots are not out, at the end of the day there's limitations in terms of our journey and our success and our journey in essence. And the only way, at least for me, right, I mean, there are probably smarter people out there who do it in a different way, but the only way for me to unlock those blind spots is a challenge, is an obstacle, is a failure, right?
Mm.
Especially the bigger blind spots, right? I mean, whatever, I don't know a particular town, if I've never want to be there, not a big deal, fine, great, I found out about it, that's nice to know. But oh shoot, I did not realize how important it is to build a really good culture in my company. I didn't
Mm.
realize the kind of CFO I need in my company needs to have this particular skill set, because I don't have that skill set, and that
Yeah.
person needs to have that in order to be compliment me in the best possible way. I
Yeah.
never knew that this legal structure needs to exist in order to build a company, and especially in the journey of an entrepreneur. I mean, especially if you start right from school, but even if you
Yeah.
do it after your MBA, after having experience, whatnot, you will find things that are new that you've never seen before, and those are all part of the blind spots in essence. And the failure is the gateway, is the only opportunity to truly get rid of those blind spots. Like, okay, fine. Now I know that happened. Now I know I did not know that part of it. Now what do I do about it? And now converting that into action. Whereas the emotion of shit, I'm sure this will be great future, that itself got me on the back foot. Instead of writing being on there, okay, hey, what happened, okay, let's make it
Mm.
like, at the end of the day, an emotional story did not happen, an incident happened. I need to find a solution for that incident if it's important to me, and I need to take action on it, right? So that translation depends on the relationship of failure, at least for me, in a sense, which is where that the way I react to that. So while there have been tremendous number of failures in my journey, right? I mean, 18 years I've been running this company, and it's gone through ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And each down was a result of primarily my blind spot, primarily my failure, primarily something that I did not realize, right? And because I overcame it, I did not bring back the company back to the same level it was before. I was able to take it further, right?
Yeah.
If I did not, then it would have stayed flat. If that failure did
Yeah.
not happen, I would not have gone there, because that blind spot would have still existed.
Yeah.
Yes, I had to go like this, but when I went higher, because now I had overcome that. And then I would have still plateaued.
Yeah.
But then the failure happened, and I got the blinds. I was able to get rid of it, and I was able to go a bit higher than that. And then a bit higher than that. And then a bit higher than that. And then the failure were a bit smaller as well, and the successes were a bit higher as well. And then all of a sudden there was a massive failure. So it's all part of the journey, right? But
Yeah.
emotionally, if I let those failures affect the number of those failures and the intensity of those failures, it's impossible to sustain if the emotional reaction is, ah, man, I'm good
Yeah.
for nothing. Ah, man, what are people going to say that I failed? I like, people think I'm a successful entrepreneur. What the hell? I made such a stupid mistake. What are they going to say? None of that matters, right? The
Yeah.
fear of judgment is an important aspect. That was important to me. I had to get rid of it. Fear of failure was an important thing to me. I had to get rid of it. Fear of the unknown was an important impact to me. I had to get rid of it. So those fears are there because, and they have an impact in various different ways. I had to go back to my past and why, what was the origin of that fear? What did my
Mm.
child brain say? Oh, this fear stings. Be aware of this fear. It's going to cause big problems for you. And hence, even that failure did not happen, but that fear struck me even before
Yeah.
acting. And the worst case scenario of those failure of that fears of failures is mediocrity, right? And if I and one thing I don't want in life is mediocrity, because mediocrity does not evoke growth. It does
Yes.
not evoke. I mean, success is, at the end of the day, is just a, it's just an outcome of growth, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm growing, I know I'll fail hundreds of times, but if I'm growing, if I'm learning, if I'm increasing my influence, if I'm increasing my access especially to knowledge, growth, people, and so on, then however bad I fall, I'll grow, I'll get up, right?
Yeah.
Which is why that community part plays a big role. If I've given enough of that equity, karma equity, into my community, then sometimes the failure is too big for me to rise myself. But then the community will play a part. They will
Yeah.
help me rise, whether it's my mentors, whether it's my family, whether it's my employees, right?
Yeah.
They will help me get through that in essence, right? So that growth and the fuel for growth is the most important aspect in that entire journey, not necessarily the dollars, because all I could lose all the dollars in one
Yeah.
day. But if I've learned through it and I've learned through my entire journey, I won't just make up for that. I've a lot more than that in essence.
Gosh. You know, this is I just have a ton of thoughts because I mean, they're all good thoughts. Like I think the first thing is I've not seen someone break down the statement. It's the journey is the reward because that's what you just really described right now.
Yeah, yeah.
The journey is actually the reward.
The journey is reward.
Yeah, because I think we, like you said, I think the brain or maybe how our cultures has evolved as a species, we tend to look at the reward, the end of the journey. But really, the real thing is all that up down, the learning that comes with it. Because in the end, if we love the business that much enough, we end up doing it till we sometimes are almost dying, or we do it and then we are old and we still like we die away. And so really, again, the business just continues going up, down, up, down, up, down. So if
Yeah.
you think that the reward you had by the time you were good leaving Earth was the reward, and then if God or whatever you believe in allowed you see where the business has gone to, maybe you'll be like, oh wow, wait, yeah, that means like, I hadn't even started the journey. And then the second thing for me is that that's actually a really good metaphor for life itself.
Yeah.
It's not just building a business, but it's literally just life. It's just like, because that's what life really is. You just go up, you discover a blind spot, you're able to look at yourself and be honest about the blind spot, and then start the journey back up again.
Yeah.
And if you have a community of people around you that love you, that nurture you and stuff, they're gonna help push you back up and never allow you fall down to the ground.
Totally.
Especially for a newcomer in a country where you know no one.
Totally. And yeah, as you said, right, it does apply to life, because if you get rid of those fears from not just during those failures or whatnot, from your day-to-day life, if you truly enjoy your journey, right, every day, every experience, every moment, right. I mean, one, obviously it's important to do, and that's where I'm blessed to do something that I enjoy doing, right, with the
Yeah.
family that I enjoy being with, all of that stuff, right. But if you enjoy that journey every single moment, I mean, there's nothing that can go wrong, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and if along with that you have that desire, that appetite, that intention to have an impact in the world, right? That's when you'll continue learning, continue growing, and continue enjoying that process, and continue
Yeah.
making bigger impact in whichever way possible. Could be
Yeah.
through business, could be through your family, could be through your community, could be through various different ways in essence, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
so those aspects do implant, and that's, I mean, I enjoy the journey. So regardless of what happens from a business standpoint, it all works out, right?
Yeah. I want to get on to the point where, I mean, now you're the CEO. And it's, I think for me is when you see a newcomer who applies, who do you see? Yourself, or just starting, or the newcomer? Just curious. Like when you see someone who's obviously a newcomer who's applying for a job and who you're interviewing, or who's asking you a question, like what do you see when you're talking to that person?
When I see a newcomer who I interact with, you're saying, what
Yeah.
do I see in that person? Uh, Good question. I mean, I just see a person. I just see a form of energy that's, again, part of me in many ways. I do believe that, again, energy is universal, and we are
Yes.
all
Oh
aspects
yeah.
of that energy, and we are all
Yeah.
connected to each other through that energy in essence. So I mean, I mean, again, slightly deviating from the question you asked, I mean, one thing that I have adopted in life, which serves me well, it doesn't serve everyone well necessarily, not meant to either, is one aspect that I had was one of the fear. We talked about fears. One of the fears that I had was fear of judgment, right? And I felt that
Mm.
in order for me to truly get rid of my fear of judgment, is important for me to be fully judgment free. So that
Oh,
was
I
a
love that.
practice I took on to say every soul that I
Oh, I love
interact
that.
with, I have no judgment, inherent
Yeah.
judgment at all, and that allows me to connect with that individual in the purest form of way. And it is important from a newcomer standpoint as well, because when I was in the country, when I was new to the country, because I had positive attitude, maybe a bit less, but I did have judgment of, oh, why do Canadians do something like this? And in some cases, I was judging on the high horse of values that, oh, we don't do this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
oh, I saw someone, I don't know, I mean, do a public display of affection on the at the subway stop. I'm like, oh, we don't do this in our
Yeah.
culture, right? And judging on the high horse, oh, our values don't allow this and whatnot. Whereas if you just have a plain mind, hey, they are doing what they believe in and what their values
Yeah.
allow them to. There's nothing, no right or wrong. There's
Yeah.
no higher
No.
values or
Yeah.
lower values. It's just a plain level playing field in essence, right? So I think as newcomers, it's very important to, because that becomes the barrier that, oh shoot, hey, these guys, oh, we love our
Yeah. They're
families and
different. Like
these
they're
guys divorce
different.
a lot, they're different than us, oh, they do this wrong and whatnot. And then when someone says that, oh, you do this wrong, as a, then you get defensive, like, no, 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 why do? But again, right, that part, I mean, the beauty of Canadian culture is ability to accept and include everyone. But
Yeah.
when those barriers of judgment come in the way, then it becomes us against them, and then it
Yes.
becomes this mosaic. And the mosaic is fine, because again, we have a mosaic here in Canada, we have a melting pot in US, right? The melting pot in many ways allows, or is supposed to allow, people to kind of think in the same way. The mosaic allows people to do everything that they can, but the challenge of the mosaic is, if it's not bound even with a small thread with each other,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
pieces that can easily crumble,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
Yes.
that binding is important, and the easiest way is to get rid of that wall of judgment that makes these mosaic pieces just stand out on their own and conflict with each other, right? I mean, if they're blending and they're not causing any harm to each other, that's okay, we can all coexist in essence, right? But so anyways, that judgment part, so yeah, so when a newcomer one, again, there's no judgment there, and yeah, I see eyes of hope. I see eyes of someone who wants to prove themselves. Obviously, wants to create a new future in this country. But I also see what I can learn from their perspective. Right, at the end of the day, I came here 25 years ago. Some of that excitement and that positivity and that curiosity I had, I'm sure that has faded away ever since. So I seek to see what I can learn from them, from what, how they see life, how they
Yeah.
see opportunity, how they see, especially today's world of AI, where are they kind of seeking, and then I'm just looking to learn, and then potentially share my own experiences on a particular challenge they're facing, or a particular issue that they're having. And I don't like to advise, because I can never be in someone else's shoes.
Oh
There's
gosh. Yeah.
no, it's completely unempathetic to give advice. Whereas if I try and articulate my experience specifically towards the challenge that they're facing, maybe it won't help them 100%, but they might take a couple of nuggets there, might allow them to open up the blind spots to seek for the
Yes.
next step, and they can kind of figure out the path on their own. Whereas I tell them the answer to the 10th step and they're still on the second step,
Yeah.
they may not even realize how to get there. And sure,
Yeah.
I've done a job, great, I gave good advice, so good for my ego, but doesn't, won't really help them
I love
when they
that.
won't be able to relate to them, right?
Oh gosh, that was a fantastic way to answer that question. Honestly, like honestly, Kundan, that was because I'm writing an article. I'm kind of finishing it around how I think that immigration policy alone won't fix some of the issues we feel we are struggling with in Canada, and that's the point you make about that mosaic and all that stuff, and all just judgment free, more openness, more integration conversations is what we need, because we've done a fantastic job of, like, the system could be better. But there's this thing in tech. I don't know if you know him. He's called Kevin Kelly. He's a technology writer. He talks about what they call class one and class two problems, where class one problems is when the system isn't working perfectly. So for it not to work perfectly, you can fix it with more resources, more processes, and all that. Class two problems are where the system is working perfectly, But then but now you now start having what they call social and cultural imagination problems, like because they're not much bigger, they are slower, they are harder to solve, and they're not just things you can throw money at.
Hmm.
I think for me, Canada's immigration system currently is just going through both class one and class two problems. Class one, not so much in the sense that the PR still works really fast, but it still has some process issues. But those ones we can easily fix them. Like I feel like if you invest in it and hire more people and stuff, but we often just focus on the class one problems. We don't talk enough about the class two problems. And it goes to that point you're making about how we're a mosaic and there's all that stuff. And we need to think about the class two problems that makes the mosaic work as we want it to work, you know.
Yeah. And one of the aspects there is, right, is just intention in essence, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I would say, as again, at the end of the day, I like to take responsibility in whichever role, because you can't control the outcome of the
Yes.
other person, but you have full control of your own actions, right?
Yes.
So as immigrants, for example, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of an immigrant to the country, I think it becomes an additional responsibility in many
Yes.
ways, right? Additional responsibility to bridge that barrier, an additional responsibility to, as I mentioned, integrate better in the society.
Yeah.
And what does integration mean? I almost look at it as just having more, just caring more about the country, caring more about caring more about the society, caring more about the nation, contributing more to our local schools, our local hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that financially, you could do that by volunteering, right? So again, it goes back to that getting out of your comfort zone. I could decide that this weekend I'm just gonna hang out with in my whatever local temple or whatnot, and which is fine as well. I can do that. But then the
Yeah.
other half, maybe I go to the local hospital and I do some and or the local community center, and I volunteer my time a bit. I get to understand and learn about people, local folks, my own neighborhood. I can contribute in different ways, right? So I think that's one additional responsibility we can take on to truly integrate and kind of break some of those barriers, right? I
Yeah.
mean, again, obviously, trying to do things for the country comes naturally to me, but one of the aspects is that responsibility. That hey, I want to bring together not just immigrants, but immigrants and non-immigrants. I mean, everyone's an immigrant, obviously, in this
Yeah.
country, but everyone, all Canadians together towards collectively doing something for the country.
Yeah.
Again, right? Never waste a great crisis. And you've seen in my story so far, every crisis, seeming crisis
Yes.
I saw that as an opportunity, and it truly was an opportunity. Not because I
Yes.
saw it as it was an opportunity. It was my choice not to see it as an
Yeah.
opportunity in many ways,
Yeah.
right? So the current crisis we face as a country, I believe it's the best opportunity we can have, because if the crisis didn't come, we were in slow decline anyways. So
Mm-hmm.
crisis coming is actually acceleration, and acceleration of that demise, or
Or we
acceleration
grow.
of
Yes.
a
Oh, yes.
reinvention, and we grow in essence, right? So if we now reinvent things by doing things together, by working collectively as a community, by collaborating more, truly thinking win-win between us, our community, and the community as a whole, our businesses and the industry as a whole, and the country as a whole, more people start thinking win-win mindset, that hey, what can I do, right? It's easy to say, the government is crap, the
Yeah.
businesses are crap, the entrepreneurs are crap. It's easy to point fingers at everyone. Unfortunately, pointing fingers is what victims do. Victims are not leaders. As
Yeah.
if each of us become leaders in our own ways, everyone is capable of being a leader. It could be
Yeah.
very simply leadership of our family, leadership of our own destiny, leadership of our
Yeah.
family, leadership of just taking full responsibility of our life. Then we'll say, okay, I know what I can do, what part I can play, as opposed to they are not doing this, they are not doing that, that's why I don't have a choice, I'm a victim. Versus, no, I'll take responsibility,
Yeah.
I'll do one and two. Okay, maybe I can just do two by myself, but if I work with that person and that person and that person, maybe we can do six together. All we need to do is keep our ego on the side, and that's true leadership. Leadership doesn't come with ego. Leadership comes with keeping ego on the side and say, okay, let's not, sure, there are things that we don't agree with, let's focus on things that we agree with. Let's focus on things that we that are collective strengths, and the things that we don't agree with, let's have an open mind to also have a discussion, have a conversation, and see how that can allow us all to grow. We will not accept each other's perspectives, but that will be an opportunity for us to learn and grow. And that's the beauty of Canada. because we have all these cultures and different values and this mosaic, the wealth of knowledge that stays in those mosaics, as long as you're willing to be open to what the other
Yeah.
person has to say, what they think, what they feel, and that may not align with your values. So you don't have to accept it or embrace it, but allows you to have a perspective.
Yes.
That's the blind spots we talked about, right?
Yeah. Like, I was good. We're rounding up, and my last set of questions were around lessons I paid you for. But I almost feel like you answered that question honestly, because like that really is it. Like that really is it. We can see this crisis as the country is falling apart, or we can see this crisis as, okay, we've built this country to this point. We need to build it to another point to go forward. Like I like that thing you said about is a choice. Like we decide what we want to see.
Exactly.
We decide, because sometimes I see some things I'm just like I want to get frustrated. But I'm like, okay, does he know? Just gosh. But I will still ask the question. I know you say you don't like to give advice, so we can say, like, if, like, you mentioned Newcomers, you run internship programs for them and all that stuff. I think for me is, if you are talking to a skilled immigrant, like, what's the mistake you see skilled immigrants make? The day one mistake they make, maybe not the day 10, day 100 mistake, but like the day one mistake they mostly make a lot when they're trying to find their way within the workplace, within the culture, within the society. Like, what's the one mistake you see when you mentor folks that you kind of have to help them to jump past?
Yeah. I mean, again, yes, I mentioned about advice, but I can always summarize my own learnings, right?
Yeah,
That
sure.
can
Yeah.
potentially be accepted. I see many, right? And it's, again, everyone is it depends, right? I mean, one aspect is kind of what we talked about, right? I mean, which is um, uh, the communication part, right? I mean, communication becomes extremely important, especially as immigrants, as people of different communication patterns, right? I mean, I took this one course at which was a collaborative course between Harvard and INSEAD of cultures and communications associated with different cultures. And when you're running global teams, I run a global team, so that course was important to understand how different cultures react, take decisions,
Mm.
collaborate, heed to instructions, and then how do they communicate with each other, and what are the
Yeah.
gaps there. A particular communication culture or a particular community's communication might be more contextual, right? I mean, or whereas the opposite of that is direct communication. So
Yeah.
someone is like going to give you straight up, another culture is going to go around the bush
Mm,
and will
mm.
never give you straight up, right? And they have their own reasons and own parameters, and it works in their own silos. But now when you bring those communications and patterns together and layer them
Yeah.
on, now there are a lot of gaps, right? Where
Yeah.
one, judgment, right? "Oh, what the frick,
Oh yeah.
how could they say that to my face?" Or
Yeah.
"Come on, stop beating around the bush, we don't have all day," right? So
Yeah.
now that's judgment, first of all, but inherently there are those gaps. Now how do you solve those gaps? So communication, now it's easy, oh, communicate, right? But if you keep communicating
The
the
wrong thing.
way, no judgment on the wrong, but if you keep communicating the way it's not helping, right, you're not evolving, obviously, right? So that inherently, as an immigrant, that's a challenge that you face. You have a particular paradigm of communication, and now you are adjusting, especially in the workplace, with a different style of communication. So
Yeah.
being open to understanding what that gap is becomes extremely important. In many ways, employers need to take a bit more of that responsibility. That's why I took the course. Okay, what can I do? Because I have a team in India, I have a team in South America, I have a team in Canada, I have a team in US. They all communicate very differently. One person says, "Great, I'm going to do it today," and that means actually tomorrow. And the other person is doing, "I'm doing right now," but that actually means they've already done it. So now, how do you manage that aspect and ensure that you are working together as a single unit? So in some cases, employers do play a part, but as a new immigrant, being very like, see, the thing is, I said a bunch of things, but one thing that I did not mention is the importance of self awareness, right?
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
for us to move a step forward, it's very important for us to dig deeper and truly, as much as possible, understand ourselves. I talked about what are our fears, what are our triggers, right? From that usually come from the past. What are the things that, like, again, right? I mean, what are things that work for our strengths, our weaknesses, or areas of work, or things that you don't want to, whatever that is, right? So that understanding also, one of the aspects is, yes, okay, it's not that my communication is a challenge. It's more of, I'm coming to a new country. My communication is at a different paradigm than what my workplace communication might be. So now, how do I make sure that that gets integrated, assimilated in a way which might need adaptability in my own communication? I may not need to change my communication, right? I mean, I've been here 25 years. I still have an accent, right? I haven't gotten rid of my accent. I didn't think that completely changing my accent would change my effectiveness of communication.
Yeah.
I decided to focus on things that I need to do in order to be better at communicating, as opposed to my how I communicate in essence, right? I mean, like, my accent is what my accent is. I don't need to work on that. I have other better things to do. But if I don't communicate in a way that's aligned to how the other person understands, that's my responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Sure, it's their responsibility. But if I want to take control of what outcome I want, then it's my responsibility. I'm going to take that responsibility in essence, right? So that communication becomes a huge factor, which is a combination of bunch of things. The judgment thing we talked about starts with the mindset itself that, hey, yes, I'm willing to find a way, right? I'm willing to learn more about you. I'm willing to put myself as much as possible into your shoes, or just give you benefit of doubt. And then I'm willing to kind of find a solution together, right? So that willingness of mindset, I think that's one very important aspect. Yeah, I mean, that would be the main thing. And then the other part is the comfort zone piece, which we already talked about, right? I mean, I think that's one thing I see most immigrants do, that, again, obviously it's challenging to come here to the country, and now you get into a comfort zone, but you need to balance that out with getting out of your comfort zone, integrating into the culture, making sure that we are again contributing locally, thinking about Canada as well. And you can do both, right? I do think about India a lot. I do contribute to a lot of causes that are in India or Indo-Canadian, but at the same time, first and foremost, I'm a Canadian. This is where I live today. So my first responsibility is towards Canada, is towards the people of Canada, is towards, again, obviously all my stakeholders in my paradigm. So that becomes extremely important. So those, I would say, would be the main ones.
Thank you. Honestly, thank you. Like, sometimes when I do these interviews, it's almost like therapy for me, or it's almost like I'm in a mentoring session. Like, because I've been playing in my head. Like I said, you can't forget this. The thing you said about that judgment-free thing, like, I feel like that's I mean, if anyone who's listening, like, that is an amazing piece of advice. And for almost anything you're doing, just the ability to meet someone and just go, like, you know what, tabula rasa, like, I think that's I forget what language that is, but it's basically plain slate, nothing, just
exactly,
just like, hey, oh, hi, how's it going? And you just take everything as it comes. Like, I mean, if you're threatened, that's a different conversation, but like, as long as it's a normal human interaction, then why go at it with so, like, honestly, thank you, Kundan.
And just one thing to add there, right? I mean, any of those things that you're doing, right? You're not doing it for the other person. You're doing it for yourself.
Oh, yes.
The judgment, the negative emotions, the whatever, I mean, all of that plays on us, makes our shoulders heavier, right?
Yes.
Makes it difficult for us to integrate. They don't have to integrate with us, right? So all of that is for us, right? I mean, having clarity, being in the present, being focused, embracing, again, that's gonna make our lives easier. And yes, I mean, it will help us build better communities, nation, all of that stuff as well, obviously. But to begin with, it has to come from for you. Yeah. It starts with you.
Yeah, it is actually. I think like we can go all altruistic and say about all the things that he does, but in the end, when you start doing that, you have an overall better life. Like, you enjoy the world a bit more.
Exactly. And you cannot make the world a better place if you are if you're not content, satisfied, happy yourself, right? So you can think about all of that, has to start. I mean, happy people can make others happy, right? As
Yeah.
simple as that, right?
Yeah. Because I remember I spoke to Roy Ratnaville. He's in Sri Lankan, Tamil Sri Lankan, and he said this thing that for him, you fix yourself first.
Yeah, totally. Put
Fix
the
yourself,
oxygen mask on first.
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Fix yourself first. Like if you can't fix
Yeah,
yourself, you can't fix the world.
totally.
You can
Totally.
dream all you want about how you want to change the world, but as long as you're carrying pain, anger, judgment, and all that, you're gonna give that back to the world. That's just the hard truth.
Yeah.
That's the energy. That thing you talk about energy, because I'm also a big believer in energy like that.
Yeah.
We all walk around the world with either negative energy or clean energy. Like I tell my friends, I remember when one of my friends was talking about something, and I said to him, be very careful. Like that is not the kind of energy you want to power what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like always find clean energy every single time.
Totally.
If you find dark energy as your power, at some point it eats you up, and then you look back and you're like, where did I change? I mean, it was just the choice you made. Again, two choices.
Two choices. Totally.
But thank you, Kundan. Like this was such a good conversation. Thank you.
No, I enjoyed it tons. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Really had a good time. So I loved your energy. So
Oh, thank you.
I was influenced by it as well.
Thanks a bunch. That was good, right? Honestly, I think it was good. And I'm going to keep thinking about two things he said, which is that thing about approaching every interaction and being judgment free. I think that's pretty important. And then the other thing about how failures help you with your blind spots. Because I think as immigrants, like it's so easy to get caught up in the failure and stew in it and all that. And it's okay to, like he said, like there are different levels to it. But really, I think just seeing failure as a blind spot, it can be immensely helpful for anyone. Again, as always, if you know someone who find all the advice Kundan gave useful, please send this to them. If you know someone I should talk to, please send them my way. We're on Substack, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find Newcomers there. Just type in the Newcomers podcast and you get us. Like, share, subscribe, please. A job, please. And with that, see you all next time.